is a live, copyrighted presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for RadioLawTalk.com with your host, Frederick Penny, attorney at law. And now, RadioLawTalk.com.
Fall morning. Beautiful fall morning this morning. Welcome. This is Frederick Penny, your host of Radio Law Talk, here with Denise Dirks, Todd Cunin, Cal Hunter behind the glass with his new call screener to help out for a little bit, Grant Bear. Thank you, Grant Bear, for being here. And we have our tech guy here. Let's see, we got Eric Lay here who does our website, and we got exciting news about our new website. It's going to be popping up soon. I'm going to give Eric a little bit of love here. Lojo Marketing is going to throw up our website soon. He's testing it to make sure that it goes live. Thanks for being here, Eric. We are excited. There's a lot to talk about today. Oh my gosh, there's some exciting things happening. The most important thing we're going to talk about early on is O.J. Simpson. Apparently, he's going to be getting out, as we've talked about before on our program, and as he gets out of Nevada prison, he wants to go back to Florida to his home. And why is it that he goes back to Florida and his home, and why do they have homes in Florida? A lot of convicted criminals?
Well, for him, it's the Homestead Act.
That's exactly right.
And it's not just his criminal status, it's so he can avoid the liability that he faced in the civil case that followed all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and his pension, too. It protects his pension.
NFL pension.
That's exactly right. So the Attorney General came out with a statement from Florida and is happy to have him back in Florida, not...
Yeah, what do we know there, Denise?
Well, you heard it first on Radio Law Talk when we discussed this before, that even though he was granted probation, there were still terms and conditions that had to be approved that was related to his probation. And one of the major terms and conditions is he wants to go back to Florida, to go home, to be with his family, to live in his big home there, and play golf and enjoy himself. And the Attorney General, whose name is...
Pam Bondi,
she says, no, I don't think we're going to approve of it. We don't want him here.
That's right.
I love my wife, but I'm going to have to say, Pam, you're quite attractive.
She really is. And she's quite bright.
She is.
Very bright. But we're also going to talk about the big college hoops corruption issue with the FBI. We're going to talk about coffee and cancer, as Denise pounded her coffee when she first rolled in. I said, I don't know, you better be careful there. And finally, we're going to talk about to goodbye squatters, hello Airbnb. We're going to talk about how interesting there may be some squatter right issues with Airbnbs. I have a friend that has an Airbnb in Oregon that loves her Airbnb, but guess what? There may be some squatter right issues, and we're going to discuss all those exciting things. But remember, we're talking about general legal information about the law. If you have any problems or issues that you want to deal with, go to your local attorney and discuss them with a local counsel. Because, again, we're talking general law here. Remember, if you want to call us, you call us at 855-LAW-RADIO or tweet us at Radio Law Talk. We also have an Instagram page. Send us a picture that's appropriate, that is. And we can talk to you, we can tweet you, we can do all kinds of things. We've had tweets from people from all over.
Hey, Fred.
Yeah.
How do you define appropriate?
Now, if Rodriguez was here...
Alex, I'll take loaded questions for $3,000, please.
Yeah. Well, since Rodriguez is not here, we can always talk. I'm not nervous when Rodriguez is not here. You know, Chris Rodriguez, one of our other hosts, is not here because he does do a lot of sports, and it's fun to talk sports when he's here. But man alive, when he starts to talk, you could see Cal just sits up in his seat, and he's got the little eject button getting ready.
Yeah, where's that 7-second delay? Come on, what's the...
But that's because he's the Prince of Harvard.
That's exactly right. Anyone from Harvard roll it in. They just think they can say whatever they want. Yes. And it is so funny when Chris sits there. He is the funniest guy. And I traveled with him to the Bay Area the other day and had a good time. But he's a good lawyer when he gets serious. He's a great lawyer. But the minute the lawyer turns off, it's like, uh-oh, watch out. Chris Rodriguez is on. So.
I miss Chris.
Well,
the thing I like about Chris is when he's here, then the focus is not on me for setting the lower part of the bar.
Yeah, that's again, we've got Denise to help us out. Again, we call her the mother figure. She's our age, but we just call her the one that has to keep us in line, and that's what Cal likes.
Yeah,
he keeps Cal in line too.
And I told Mary Jane Pop, that it was like herding cats.
That's right.
Trying to keep all you guys together.
But cute cats, if you think about it.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly right. Man, the weather is beautiful out there too, isn't it?
You wake up this morning and you go out there and it's got that crisp feel to the air. It's not to where it's so cold that you have to put on something that's going to keep you warm all day. It's just this is gonna pass a little bit, but enjoy it while it's here. And fall.
There's football. Last night I watched some football, and it was kind of interesting and exciting. But we talk about my little weight loss we throw in all the time. We talk about, a lot of times our first segment is absolutely nothing about the law, but it's all about us and what we're doing. And I have to say, and I'm confessing on the air live, I sinned. I sinned.
Again?
Again. This time it was a nice, huge taco salad.
Yum.
It was, oh my gosh.
That's not a sin?
It is a sin in my, I've got my 10 pounds to go, and I just can't, I'm fighting that 10 pounds because I'm like starting to slip. But everybody was eating. It's football. Everybody's eating, and I'm backing off a little bit and just being good. And they had these taco salads with the chicken and the beef and just the shredded lettuce. And I didn't put cheese on it, but the beans, the guacamole. I'm just, right now I'm thinking about food.
Oh, Fred DePenny, you have committed the vilest of sins. I command the evil carbohydrates to leave your body and to go on out to somewhere else, and you to be back on the all-rabbit food diet plan. You may eat nothing wrong.
Say 10 carrots.
Yes. I would eat rabbit food if I could. It's not, I can't eat rabbit food. But it was funny. Here's the interesting part I'm getting to. So I'm sitting there eating this. My wife's face was, I wish I could have videoed it. It was the, you idiot face. I was sitting there enjoying this taco salad, and you can just picture like taco salad and some beans stripping down the side of my face as I'm eating it, and I'm like Cal says, I'm scraping it off my front, and my wife looking at me, I'm gonna kill you. So we wake up this morning and we get up for breakfast. She makes this healthy, quote, breakfast, or unhealthy cardboard breakfast, I call it. And she looks at me and she goes, maybe we should change your diet a little more. And I said, what do you mean? Maybe you should start counting calories. Because don't forget, this plan I'm on, they count the calories for me, and this is what I eat. I don't even count the calories. But she goes, maybe when you're getting off the plan and not doing what you're supposed to do, you should kind of figure out what you're eating. That was a kind way, Denise, of my wife telling me what?
Don't go overboard.
That's exactly right. Don't go overboard. So I'm kind of feeling guilty right now. I'm feeling fatter. I'm not, but she told me this morning, she goes, hey, can you get on the scale? I said, nope.
Nope.
Ain't gonna happen.
Why would I do that?
I got Radio Law Talk. I gotta go, and so
I'm out the door.
Love to weigh, gotta run.
Gotta run. Cal's waiting, and so as I roll in, a lot of people, you're listening to us on the air. I roll in, and Denise and I and Todd, we've got this thing going. In all honesty, we're so comfortable with each other. We've got this down. I'm sorry, but we have it down with Cal. We just mesh really well, and so we just roll in. When this Radio Law Talk started, we're here an hour early, double checking. Hey, what are you doing? I'm rolling in 10 minutes till air, and Cal's sitting by himself.
I'm thinking, I hope I have a lot of fill material.
And then Denise rolls in and casually, and so does Todd. And I'm just laughing, going, things have changed. Radio Law Talk's going well. But anyway, we will talk about the law. We have 15 seconds to go with our great man, Grant Baer, helping us out. But we're going to talk more about O.J. Simpson. We're going to get a little bit into the NCAA hoops and the FBI. So tweet us at Radio Law Talk. We'll be right back.
This is RadioLawTalk.com. Now, back to the show.
All right, we're back here in the jungle. That is the legal jungle with three musketeers. Denise, Todd, and Fred. Call me Frederick if you're a defense counsel, I always said. What's your name? Fred, if you're my friend. Frederick, if you're defense counsel. So anyway, we're talking about OJ, and during the break, we're talking about this OJ issue. So, Todd, give a general overview as to how the process works. Once Nevada parole board granted him parole, that is OJ Simpson, what is the process in allowing him to go back to Florida? And then I'm gonna read a quote from the Florida AG. What's her name?
Pam Bondi.
No, Julie L. No, Pam Bondi. That's
yes.
right. Pam Bondi.
But Todd, the critical question, it's been called two things, probation and parole. And I think we got to get that straightened out.
Okay, it is parole.
Right.
Probation is what you get if every crime has a term of commitment that you can serve in either local county jail for misdemeanors or prison if you're not granted any sort of probation. And so if you commit a crime and it's got a 2-year prison term, you go to prison, you serve your 2 years, and then if when you are released from prison, you are released onto parole.
Right.
Now, most people, because they don't have any criminal history, have the potential for a 2-year term, for example, hanging over their head, but they're given an opportunity to change their life, and so they're placed on probation, where maybe they have to serve a small portion in the local county jail, but they don't have to go to prison while they're on probation for 3 years, and if they're successful, then everything is wiped out. So probation is what you get in lieu of going to prison, but
Correct.
if you've gone to prison, it's parole. And what we're talking about with O.J. Simpson here is parole because he went to prison.
And parole means?
Parole.
On my honor. That's what the term means. It means so you will act on your honor once you're out of prison, be an honorable person.
And it's interesting because it's not, even though that's the definition of the term, it's not solely on your honor, because if something was completely on your honor, there's no teeth to it. Because if I just say, I'm on my honor, I'm going to do it, and then everybody hopes you comply. But with parole, if you don't comply.
Right, and then there's officers that watch you. You got to check in.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
So the way it works, to answer your question, Fred, is when the parole board in Nevada says that he can be released on parole, it is then the responsibility of his legal team to present a plan to the parole board for his release. And in O.J. Simpson's case, it was very well known that he did not want to stay in the state of Nevada, that he would present this plan so that he could return to Florida, where he moved to right after the criminal case was over back in '95. And he wanted to go back to Nevada, where his to Florida, where his family was, and everything. And
knowing, by the way, knowing full well that a civil trial was coming down.
Well,
that's why they do that.
In '95, there was this civil case. He knew the civil case was coming, so he moved to Florida before the civil case was filed or got going, so that he could have his assets, his pension, his home protected under the Homestead Act and everything. So he has been a Florida resident since mid-'95, and that's where he wants to go back to. And Florida, the way it works here is they submit the plan to the parole board, and then the parole board in Nevada has to see if Florida will take him.
That's exactly right. So, go ahead. So,
and right now, the Attorney General in Florida, now not the parole board, but the Attorney General has written a letter to the parole board, obviously trying to influence the parole board's decision whether to accept this agreement, saying, on behalf of the citizens of Florida, we don't want him.
Right, and this is a quote. This is a quote from here. Floridians are well aware, and this again is this Pam Bondi. Floridians are well aware of Mr. Simpson's background, his wanton disregard for the lives of others, and of his. Now, you tell me what that word is.
Scofflaw?
Scofflaw. What is that? What is scofflaw? Who knows what a scofflaw is? Go ahead.
There's another radio show called Radio Scofflaw.
Scofflaw.
And
I'm on it, by the way.
What is it, Cal? What's scofflaw?
One who has disregard or scoffs at the law.
Okay, scofflaw. Others, and of his scofflaw attitude with respect to the heinous acts for which he has been found civilly liable. Notice she mentions that, because criminally he's been found not liable.
That's right.
Bondi writes, referring to the 1994 deaths of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman. She says, quote, "The specter of his residing in comfort in Florida should not be an option Our state should not become a country club for this convicted criminal. Wait a minute. He's not convicted.
He is convicted.
Well, let me back up. He is not. I guess we're using a term of words here. And so convicted criminal, actually, he's civilly liable.
Well, he's civilly liable for the deaths, but he's still a convicted criminal for what happened in Nevada.
Okay, back up. So the way I read this and the way I understood it is they're still talking about the death of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown in the same respect. Then I hear this convicted criminal. You're right. And to me, it just sounds wrong.
And that's the disconnect in Bondi's letter, from my perspective, is if you're going to write to the attorney or to the parole board to say we don't want this person here, you should be writing and focusing because of the crimes he committed for which he is in custody. But what she did was she wrote and had very little reference to the crimes he committed for which he was in custody. She referenced the crimes he committed for which he was exonerated criminally and is only facing civil liability. A little bit of a disconnect.
But she's right. He scoffs at the law. Why let him go back to Florida where he can avoid that civil lawsuit? That's what I read between the lines she's saying.
And you're right, Denise. What the interesting thing we were talking about in the break is the political ramifications. The political ramifications of this. Todd, tell us. You were saying a lot of times the parole board, even though they're technically, they are neutral and they just look at the facts and see how this person's going to acclimate back into the community and try to help them rehabilitate.
Yes.
There's going to be some political backlash here.
Oh, there are, because the parole board is going to have to deal with the defense, O.J. Simpson's team, coming in and saying, you guys are considering a whole host of things that had nothing to do with the crime for which he was in custody. And so now they are going to have to shoulder the defense and burden if they agree with their attorney general.
And the parole board hasn't even heard from Nevada yet either.
They have not even heard from Nevada yet. Nevada has yet. I mean, he's supposed to be out the 8th of October. Maybe we can pick this up in a second. They haven't even Nevada hasn't even contacted Florida yet to see if they'll accept him.
That's exactly right. We're going to talk a little more about this and get into the NCAA scandal with the FBI. We'll be right back. This is Frederick Penny, Radio Law Talk.
Go to the website, radiolawtalk.com. You can listen to the show there, and there's a lot of other good information, too. That's radiolawtalk.com.
All right, we're live back. We're going to get over here, Eric. We're going to take a picture with Eric before he leaves. We do things live here, Eric. Eric's like, what? So let's take a picture with Eric while we're on the air. This is our marketing guy that handles all our marketing. I tell you that the new website's going to be awesome. Go ahead, Grant, take this picture. Those of you who can't see us, I'm sucking it in right now. I'm next to Todd.
Me too.
Take the picture. There you go. Good. Yeah, all right. Eric, we expect you to talk about us big time because you like us.
Absolutely.
All right. See you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Lojo Marketing. That's our guys that are helping us out and gals that do a great job on our new website. So let's go on. Let's step up to the big NCAA issues.
NC2A.
There's interesting things going on. Man, this is just blowing up like crazy. And it's interesting because I love basketball. And I love college hoops. And we're going to talk about a little about the biggest question I've heard as I've kind of been out there in the community and people are asking me questions about this. They always say, why is the FBI involved? And that's what we're going to get into.
Show me the money.
Oh, that could be for that reason, Cal, because show me the money. It's all about money. But there's all these not racketeering, but these laws under the Title 18 of the United States Code, mainly Section 666, A1B, and A2. But before we get to that, and this is important stuff for us to talk about, Denise, we have great research people that help us out. Isn't that true?
Yeah, we're really fortunate. We have law students from all over the United States that are usually a second year or a third year into their studies, and they do the research for us. And it's been so extremely helpful, and we really do appreciate them. And they get a $100 scholarship for doing it. We have new research students every week, and this week, Tanner Combs from Brigham Young University, J. Reuben Clark Law School, is the one that has done our research. So as you're listening to us, and if there's things you like, well, just shout out to Tanner Combs.
Yeah, Tanner, thanks. I mean, actually, he did a great job I got an email from my son, who, believe it or not, is a law clerk also, and he oversees it. We've said, you're still in law school, but you're going to oversee this. And he said, how did it look, Dad? And I said, man, it looks great. He actually did a good job. And Tanner, super job in helping us get prepped. It's just, we're such busy lawyers. I mean, Todd's got a criminal practice, defense practice. I've got a personal injury practice, and Denise has got a family law practice. We're super busy, and this really helps us. Remember before we started doing this, it was very difficult. We were just studying and working. It was just killing us. So we said, we've got to do this, and this has helped a lot. So here's the thing about the NCAA college hoops. The FBI is involved because it's about corruption.
Yes.
And that's what it comes down to, because...
And it's corruption over state lines.
That's exactly right. And why, Denise, is that an issue if it's over state lines?
Well, that makes it a federal matter, and that's why the FBI becomes involved.
That's exactly right. So if you mail something, let's say you're in the state of California and do something wrong, and the minute you drop it in the mail and it goes to another state, say Nevada or whatever, feds can get involved because they have a thing called mail fraud, and it's across state lines. And that's why they are involved. And there's other things, okay? Here's an example. An example is Title 18, United States Code, bribery conspiracy. Another count could be solicitation of bribes and gratuities. Ooh, conspiracy to commit honest service fraud, and then honest services wire fraud. Okay, Todd's writing me later. What is it? What's the note?
You can't say that.
No. He said mail fraud, question mark? Male or female fraud?
Never mind.
No.
We'll just move on with
Male
it.
or female
Todd is our
fraud?
only single member, and so oftentimes he finds things that are funny in words.
Because I don't have a significant other to tell me that my sense of humor is often base and off color. I have no filter.
All right,
at least you're not scuffled. It's all right.
Yes,
That's
I'm not
right.
a scofflaw.
And that is our scofflaw is, and I felt bad that I didn't know what that was, but Denise said she didn't either. I guess so. Scofflaw is our new.
That's our new buzzword for
That's
the
our
day.
new tagline. It's going to be Radio Law Talk. Scofflaw.
Scofflaw.
There, in the complaint that's been filed against 10 different individuals, there are a lot of counts.
There are.
I was really surprised with how many counts there are. There are 6 different counts of different types of crimes that are alleged to have been committed.
That's exactly right. And so the people, what has happened is 10 people, including 4 NCAA college basketball coaches, were arrested and charged by the FBI and charged with corruption and fraud. They're accused for accepting bribes in exchange for exerting their influence over certain players. Shocker.
Yeah.
Players are influenced? Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean, anytime they make a movie, back when he was still a young NBA player, Shaquille O'Neal was in a movie, I believe it was called Blue Chips. Nick Nolte played a coach, and the whole thing was about how a small-time coach has to compete for a recruit, and they're competing against the money that is given out to the big-name recruits, four-star or blue chip players as they call them. And so anytime a situation is rampant enough that Hollywood feels like they could make a movie about it because a certain section of the population is going to identify with it, you know it's an issue. And we see that, and 30 years later, the NCAA is now being investigated, or these practices are being investigated by the FBI.
Right, and the claim is that there's a black market for teenage athletes, and that coaches, agents, financial advisors, and even shoe company employees are involved in this corruption and trying to steer these athletes to the right schools for the right amount of money, if you kind of get what my drift is.
Well, what's interesting, you think about the money they're making in the NBA. Look at the salaries. I mean, there's some contracts that are over $100 million. When there's that kind of money involved, it's bound to pop up. It's just how do you, when these students are rolling out of high school, and I don't know if you watched, how much you guys watch the NBA, the NCAA, but some of these guys rolling in as freshmen are just superstars. They're really good. And so they're ready for the NBA within a year. Now, the NBA passed a rule. They used to pull them right out of high school. In fact, Kobe Bryant was one of the ones one of the ones pulled right out of high school.
He was.
But now there's a rule they have to be at least 1 year in college prior to being drug into the NBA. I don't know if there's rules outside that in other countries, but I know within the United States they have to be at least 1 year in college. So now that pulls these colleges in. It's very important to bring these top recruits in. So how do you get the advantage on the other person? There's no way these mid-tier schools are going to get those type of people.
Well, you know, the way that it worked, there was another movie I remember back from the 70s.
This all goes back to the movies,
yes,
not the law.
With Robbie Benson. And
I remember that.
He played a college basketball player, and he ends up getting a job. But the way it used to work, okay, the way the accusations used to go, were that the boosters and the alumni of certain schools would get involved in the recruiting process and help out families and pay out. And then that got shut down because that was too easy to tie. A booster is too closely related to the school. So then they had to go, kind of like money laundering, they had to go more steps removed and get a shoe company involved that's responsible for providing athletic apparel to the school. And because the shoe companies are so big, who's going to see if some low guy at a shoe company is funneling money to the family of a recruit? And that's just sort of how it all worked around.
That's exactly right. So let's talk briefly about the law, and then we'll talk about who's being indicted and the details of the indictment. First of all, under Title 18, the U.S. Code Section 666 says as following: if you corruptly solicit or demand or receive a benefit of any person who accepts or agrees to accept anything of value from any person intending to be influenced or rewarded in connection with any business transaction or series of transactions such as organization, government, or agency involving anything of value of $5,000 or more. It also includes goes into the state or local or Indian tribe government. You can be fined under this title and imprisonment of not more than 10 years or both. Then it goes into solicitation of bribes and gratuities. And then conspiracy to commit honest service fraud is also Section 1343, and that's fraud by wire, radio, or television. So be careful what we say here on the radio, though. But false or fraudulent pretenses, representations, or promises transmits or causes to be transmitted by means of wire, radio, or television communication in interstate or foreign commerce, any writings, signs, signals, pictures, or sounds for the purpose of executing such scheme shall be fined under this title or imprisoned with not more than 20 years. Now, this is what I'm worried about. I'm worried about us talking about Todd and his single issues, whether or not that is, if we're committing any crime here about discussing your lifelong.
Well, I would say that any insinuation that I would be a good boyfriend and or husband is the basis for fraud, probably, because at my age, you just got to realize sometimes that dog won't hunt.
That's exactly right. Well, we're going to come right back and talk more about this NCAA fraud. But what's interesting, though, it also includes you cannot take advantage of people when there's a presidentially declared major disaster or emergency. We'll talk about that also when we come back. Radio Law Talk. Tweet us at Radio Law Talk.
Go to the website, radiolawtalk.com. You can listen to the show there, and there's a lot of other good information, too. That's radiolawtalk.com.
We're back here at Radio Law Talk, or better known as Scofflaw.
Scofflaw Talk.
Scofflaw Talk, and we're hanging out, and we received a tweet that I guess I said the word NCAA when I was talking about the rules about a kid having to be at least 1 year in college. And I know it's the NBA rule, and I knew that, but apparently they said I said the NCAA.
Either a year in college or put in that year's time. Be 1 year separated from graduation. Doesn't necessarily have to be in college, but got to be graduated.
Right. So anyway, I meant NBA if I said NCAA, so that's one of the many other things that we accidentally say wrong. But anyway, here's an interesting tweet. I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but some people are tweeting us saying it's part of the NBA collective bargaining agreement that set this up. So which it sounds right, but I didn't. That's something I didn't know.
Yeah, that's right. Now let's talk about who the players are here. The indicted are 4 assistant coaches. One of them is Chuck Pearson of Auburn, Emmanuel Richardson of the University of Arizona, Tony Bland of the University of Southern California, Lamont Evans of Oklahoma State. And they stand accused of accepting bribes to influence players. And specifically, they want to influence the players to go to certain segments of the NBA. The other
And
6
schools.
men and schools too.
schools.
So it's a combination of the schools that are involved, but also pushing them toward the NBA career.
And Denise, and certain
Agents.
quote agents and certain shoe companies. Go ahead.
So there are 6 other men: James Gatto, the director of global sports marketing at Adidas; Merle Code, also of Adidas; the NBA agent Christian Dawkins. They're all involved in this too, as well as some clothing companies. There's some other smaller players, but basically they are offering to pay the coaches and assistant coaches to steer the student athletes in a certain direction.
They've been accused of funneling up to $100,000 to prize recruits to help secure college commitments, and that is very interesting. Here's the thing that's weird: it's all Adidas. At least let me back up. At least what they've brought out, it's Adidas. I don't know what other people are going to be involved because this is evolving. But I don't know about you, but if I'm Nike, I'm sitting back like this.
Well, Oregon's reaping that.
Take a picture of this, Grant. I'm sitting back pretending I'm relaxing.
Well, and here's the
vaping. I'm vaping.
Here's something interesting about that. So we talk about college athletes and colleges that are competing for recruiting athletes, right? And so they have this money that they pay out. Well, the same thing is true for apparel companies. The apparel companies are competing. Everybody's competing with Nike, which is the big 600-pound gorilla of apparel. And so all of these other companies like Adidas, which is less, in terms of market share and all that, they're competing with Nike, and so they, in an effort to get their contracts and be able to show various schools, hey, here's what we can do for you.
And have their sponsorships.
And have their sponsorship. Here's what we can do for you. We can help you out with your efforts to try to get other players, which is why Nike may be looking back going, well, everybody wants to be with us. You guys are the ones that are skirting the law to try to compete with us.
Right.
Now, I'm not gonna say
scufflaws they are.
Yes, I'm not going to say that people are completely exonerated, as far as other companies. It just, the evidence hasn't come out that Nike was involved in this. It's Adidas.
And it's interesting that Adidas is now the number 2 sportswear manufacturing company. They have moved up because of all of this stuff they've been pulling off, taking out Under Armour, which was really aggressive before them. So it's been paying off for them.
Cal, supposedly doing this, because don't forget, there's been no convictions.
No conviction,
Yes,
but there's
but
some pretty good evidence.
And the canceled checks are
Yeah,
There's pretty good evidence.
Well, here's what's interesting. Let's back up. By the way, we're all Nike's big Adidas. Did you know, if you read the story of Nike's history, it was Adidas that was the big monster, and Nike was the one that was being kind of crushed by Adidas.
Right.
And Nike eventually took off. But it's a very interesting story to read how it was Adidas was the powerhouse, and then Nike, at least when I grew up in the 70s and the 60s, Adidas was it, right? Isn't that what you knew about, Cal? It was Adidas.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. And at Adidas, actually, according to analysts, are saying Adidas is outperforming Nike and becoming cool again, and Nike's becoming uncool. So it's this constant back and forth.
Right. All I got to say is one thing. I want Pumas coming back. I want Pumas. I love the
I
Pumas.
love Pumas.
Which used to be a part of Adidas, by the way. Family rivalry. Great story.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah,
wow,
great
that's
story.
great.
Yeah.
But Pumas, I loved them. Go ahead.
So, well, my understanding is that there was some recordings made.
Yes, here's an interesting. Now I'm gonna quote these. Now this is the FBI's recordings, supposedly, that leaked or came out as to what exactly was said in some of these meetings. Now what happened is a lot of these FBI guys rolled in gals as, quote, agents or school reps or whatever, and they were talking to, in this case, the NBA agent, Mr. Dawkins, and these are some quotes. And he said, and this is a quote from Mr. Dawkins, according to the FBI, quote, basically, we just need to take care of his dad with $2,000 monthly, and that's Kristen Dawkins is the guy that brought that up and was said. Also, quote, the mom is like dash, dash, dash. We need our blanking money. So we got to be able to fund the situation. So these are some type of things that
that was said in the investigation. They actually said it to undercover agents.
Yeah, and that one's in Las Vegas, in a hotel room in Las Vegas.
Gosh.
So you kind of wonder what's going on. And not only that, the FBI, where they're getting a lot of evidence too, is phone records. And so, for example, I didn't talk to them about that. Well, they can get your phone records to see, and now it's cell phones, to see if you made a phone call to Adidas or this Adidas rep. And so you've got to be careful out there, everybody. And by the way, they're not going to know where I am. When you're walking around and cruising around with your phone, it pings usually off of different
towers.
That's exactly right.
It pings off the towers. And you know what else? I learned this in a homicide seminar I went to about 3 or 4 years ago. Not only can they ping off the towers, but your own internal GPS on your phone can tell exactly where that phone has been based upon where the phone is. Now, let's say
and that goes to the satellite too. That's up in the satellite, that information.
And let's say you turn off. Let's say you turn off your map program, okay, in your phone because you don't want that. But your location services is still on, and you're using, for example, Craigslist Pro, which uses location services. They can get into your Craigslist program because that app was tracking your location and still find out where your phone has gone.
That's exactly right. And that's what's interesting about this NCAA FBI investigation is they're using a lot of that technology to find out what's going on.
Yeah, you were talking about when you first started this segment, Fred, you said, how do these investigations get started? We had Braden Chadwick on, and he was talking about the land use. It was just some employee passing by a field, and he saw somebody disking the field, and he brought it up on Google Earth and thought, oh my gosh, he shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, that's federal land.
And then Barry Bonds, remember the steroid investigation for Barry Bonds? That started because the chief investigator worked out at the same gym as Barry Bonds.
Wow.
And Bonds came in with his trainer, Greg Anderson, and he was really big. And the chief investigator saw Bonds and said, there's no way that guy is clean. And because of admiration or jealousy at the gym, he started an investigation. And with this NCAA stuff, I would not be surprised. I don't have this, but I would not be surprised if this was not started by somebody that lost some NCAA March Madness pool.
That's exactly right.
And said, my gosh, I lost $100. I'm getting back at Louisville. I'm getting back at Persons.
That's exactly right.
Or it could have been the families, because the families, in this particular case, apparently $18,000 was paid to a couple of the families of the athletes. And perhaps the families didn't keep that undercover. Perhaps they talk and they brag and they say, hey.
The students are a student on an NC2A scholarship is driving a new Porsche around. That's going to raise some eyebrows.
Yeah, that's it. The interesting thing is since this happened, there's a number of things that we've got to realize. The first thing is, I always say, what's the argument against this? And because we want to bring both sides out. So if I'm arguing against this, that they did nothing wrong, first of all, you're going to simply say it didn't happen. Second of all, you're going to say there's no intent. Don't forget, the government's got to prove that not only did the event happen, but the defendants acted in the furtherance of the purpose of their conspiracy and criminal act. That's what I would argue. It was not acted to further the purpose of our conspiracy or criminal act. Now, that might not win. And also, is it commonplace conduct?
Is it business as usual, right?
Right. And or is the cooperating witnesses lying? And that's what we've got to look into. And that could be some arguments for Louisville or some other schools that are being looked at this time. Well, we're done with our hour on Radio Law Talk. We'll touch on this on our next hour. We'll be right back. This is Frederick Penny. Tweet us at Radio Law Talk.
Thanks, Tanner Combs from Brigham Young University, Joy Rubin Clark Law School, for all your hard work.
You have been listening to RadioLawTalk.com, a copyrighted presentation of Radio Law Talk Incorporated. The following is a live copyright copyrighted presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for RadioLawTalk.com with your host, Frederick Penny, attorney at law. And now, RadioLawTalk.com.
Welcome back to Radio Law Talk, our second hour. Again, as we always say, the deodorant's been applied. The breath mints have been put in. Round two. This is Frederick Penny, and I'm with my wonderful hosts, Denise Dirks and Todd Cunin. We have Cal Hunter behind the glass. Couple of things. First of all, we'd like to thank our research person. Go ahead. You're the person that likes it.
we have a program where law students specifically, do research for us for our program, and they get a $100 scholarship and they get a good mention. And we want to say thanks so much to Tanner Combs from Brigham Young University School of Law.
J. Reuben Clark School of Law.
J. Reuben Clark School of Law, and he has done our research for today's 3-hour segments. Thank you.
Tanner, it was outstanding research, a very, very thorough.
That's right.
Very thorough.
You did a good job. Remember, if you want to call in, it's 855-LAW-RADIO. And remember, as we talk today, we're talking general law, and we're not talking specifics, even though it sounds like we might be talking specifics. If you have a legal issue that you want to talk about, or any of our topics that you want details or how it applies to your situation, make sure you seek legal advice. It's very important.
But feel free to call us if you want to make mention or ask a question. We definitely want to hear from you.
There is one specific issue I want to cover.
Sure.
I specifically miss Chris Rodriguez. I specifically miss him. I know he's out, doing his sports stuff, but I specifically miss Chris. Chris, if you're listening, you're missed.
We have an empty chair in our studio here today. Chris Rodriguez, we are all thinking of you. Here's a moment of silence.
Well, that's about all the silence he's getting. I'm not giving him more than about a half a second.
It's a nano moment
that
of silence.
That was way too much dead air for Chris.
That's exactly. No, we're used to dead air for Chris because after he says something, there's dead air. Like, did he just say that?
Yeah.
Cal, you need to have the cricket sound queued up.
Okay, here we go. Here, we're going to have a little bit of silence. What do you call it again?
Moment of silence.
A moment of silence for Chris Rodriguez starting right now. Cal, you missed it. Oh, we're waiting
How can I get cricket sound effects so quickly?
Let's do here's the money one.
Yeah. Show me the money.
Now that one I've got. That's never a problem.
Okay, here we go. A moment of silence for Harvard boy Chris Rodriguez.
Show me the money.
There we go.
There we go.
Standing.
That's it. That's the one.
Hey, remember, we don't talk politics. We just talk about the facts and our love of the law.
That's exactly right. Remember, who needs law school? You have Radio Law Talk.
That's right.
Since the release of the charges by the FBI, those of you who didn't hear the first hour, we're talking about the NCAA big scandal with the FBI investigating it, and we're just touching in the final little touches of our last hour. Since the release of the charges by the FBI, the following has happened. Louisville Place coach Rick Pitino on administrative leave after learning that Louisville allegedly, I'm going to say the word allegedly, worked with Adidas to funnel approximately $100,000 to an unquote unnamed recruit. I think I know who it is, but I'm not going to bring it up. Auburn suspended coach Chuck Pearson without pay for allegedly collecting a lot of money in bribes to push college athletes to work with a Rashawn Michelle, the owner of a clothing store. Arizona suspended assistant coach Brooke Richardson for accepting bribes, allegedly. This is all alleged, just so you know. We're here at Radio Law Talk. We're neutral. We're not trying to say what's happened. We're just saying this is all alleged. Because don't forget out there, those of you who are listening, just because they're indicted or just because someone's arrested, the Constitution is very clear. They're innocent until proven guilty. But sometimes I wonder about that. Yeah, sometimes I wonder about that.
That's when you play it, Cal. That's when you play it.
Well, I play it because when you say that, people hear it, and yet they don't believe it because they've now been stained with this brush.
That's exactly right.
You know?
That's exactly. As much as some people are conservative and liberal and whatever they are politically, it's still that everybody, I hope, believes that's very important. You are not guilty the minute you're arrested. Okay, and so Oklahoma State suspended assistant Lamont Evans without pay for the same issues. USC assistant saying that is accepting bribes or assisting with bribes, and USC assistant Tony Bland is placed on administrative leave for allegedly accepting bribes to steer players to an agent. So this is, I think,
to an MBA agent, right?
Yeah. Yes. So what's interesting is, I think this is the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, yeah.
And so we will be talking about this quite a bit. So be prepared, those of you who are out there who didn't hear enough of it. It's going to roll in later, okay? We're going to talk much, much more about it. So anyway, that's a little bit about the NBA, FBI scandal, and it's exciting to talk about, at least to us. To us, we love talking about the law. But that, I hope, answers your question. Those of you who have asked me prior to coming in today of why is the FBI involved? Now we know why the FBI is involved. And just give a brief overview, Todd, why is the FBI involved? Just very briefly for those people who are just starting our second hour, why are they involved?
The FBI is involved because, first, this is something that crossed state lines, so it's a federal issue. The FBI is also involved because the NCAA and schools are typically places and institutions that receive federal money. And, it's true. Most of the time, you follow the money, and money talks, and you know what walks. And because they receive federal money, these schools do, there has to be some sort of oversight or stewardship over the funds. That's the big reason why the NCAA is involved. And also maybe somebody lost in their NC2A bracket.
I think it's the latter.
Yeah. Somebody lost in March Madness. They lost the office pool, and they're an investigator, and dang it, they're going after these guys.
Can you see the FBI all gather around, about 40 of them, going, who won the office pool? I'm coming after the... No, you're not. No, you're not. I won. No, I'm going after the NCAA. No.
It's always interesting when you see why the FBI investigates stuff. Remember back when you could rent videotapes, and there was always that warning at the beginning of the videotape before your Disney movie started, unlawful recording or duplication of this video is punishable. It's investigated by the FBI and punishable by a fine of up to $250,000.
Right.
And I always wondered, there's a massive drug problem in the United States, but across the street in a surveillance van, there's some FBI agent going, "All right, we don't move till he hits record." all right, we're going. All right, swarm.
I see Cunan's little kids. Grab the little kids, quick.
Yeah, quick, get in there.
So anyway, we're going to move on and talk a little bit about
coffee.
Listen, I was sitting here as we started, and in rolls in our illustrious hostess. She's our host, but I'm going to say Denise Dirks. And what does she do, Todd? I'm always turning to Todd, but I push Denise to the side here. What does she always walk in with every single Saturday?
It's like an addiction. And she always walks in with that nectar of the cocoa bean.
And it's always her same Oregon duck. It's her Oregon Ducks.
Oregon Ducks.
Little coffee cup, and
Yeah.
and she has to have it before. I mean, we're like 30 seconds to air, and she puts it outside, and I'm
I
looking
drink
at her.
1 cup of coffee a day, and not every day.
But
But
it's-
on Saturdays, I drink every
Denise,
Saturday.
to say you drink it is a misnomer. You have it hooked up to an IV for crying out loud.
And here's the important thing to note: she drinks one cup of coffee a day. On Saturday mornings, it's 8. I gotta be with Todd.
And they're only 32-ounce cups. I don't know what they're making.
Yeah, that's
And there's no warning label.
That's exactly
That's-
right.
that's the problem,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So it's the coffee cancer conundrum is what we're going to talk about. Is there is a law that's called the Safe Drinking Water and Toxic Enforcement Act, or the quote right to know law. That's what they call it. And that was passed in 1986, known as Proposition 65, which basically allows private citizens, advocacy groups, and attorneys can sue on behalf of the state and collect portions of civil penalties for not proper warnings or on dangerous food, drinks, or whatever, or ones that aren't dangerous but need warning.
Now, this is a California law.
That's exactly
So
right.
we're talking about a California proposition.
And we're going to talk more about that after the break, but let's come back and we'll talk about coffee cancer conundrum.
Hey, tweet us at Radio Law Talk or call us at 855 Law Radio. That's 855-529-7234.
You have turned on RadioLawTalk.com.
I gotta tell you a little something about yourself. You're one of our flawless, ooh, you a sexy lady. But you walk around here like you wanna be someone else.
We're back to Radio Law Talk, talking about Denise's cancer problem with her coffee.
Well, you know, and Fred, I got to say, this issue here is something that people are more familiar with than they may know. Every time you walk into a business establishment, every time you walk into a restaurant, you can see it. I think there's even a notice here. I've seen them in churches. And there's that notice that says, the state of California, Prop 65 notice, the state of California has determined that there are substances on the premises here that could have shown to cause birth defects and whatever. Anytime you see that notice, you're seeing a notice that came about because of this Proposition 65 that we're talking about here today. When you pay attention, you see it everywhere.
Okay, and that's what it's funny as I was thinking about these topics the last few days, especially this one. You know what I said to myself? And I was going to talk about this at the end, but this is really important. Think about it. What happens when it becomes, and again, we're not trying to get politically one way or the other, but this is a fact. What happens becomes when there's so many warnings, what happens to you as you walk and see these warning stickers?
Completely blind to it.
Completely blind to it. Completely ignore them. There's so many stickers. I have a Ranger. I'm going to plug for Polaris. I have a Polaris Ranger, and I like the Polaris ATVs. There's so many stickers on the thing. I've never read them. I don't know what's on those stickers. Who knows?
We talked about a couple weeks ago. I had one brand new car in my life, and all the other ones I bought used because I never liked that the minute you drive a car off the lot, it immediately depreciates $2,500 or whatever. That's always
well, it didn't depreciate for you because you literally drove it late at night off the lot.
Well,
right? That's the first one you ever had.
That's true.
And did you put like some newspaper box thing in the back?
Anytime that you have to pick up your car wearing face black under the cover of night, that is a bit of an issue. But for whatever reason, I was just really anal retentive about this, and I pulled out the owner's manual. And on the owner's manual, it says, "Do not operate this vehicle until you have read this manual in its entirety." It's a 300-page manual.
Right.
There's no way people are reading that.
Well, let's go in and talk about. Okay, it's called acrylamide. I don't know if I said acrylamide, right?
Acrylamide.
Okay, acrylamide. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce it. Acrylamide is a carcinogen found in cooked foods such as French fries, and also it's a natural byproduct of the coffee roasting process. So now what they're doing is they're coming out. There's a lawsuit brought that started about 7 years ago, saying that coffee. Now, not as Denise pointed out, it's coffee makers like a Starbucks or a Dutch Brothers.
It's the ready-to-drink coffee.
Ready to drink, whatever it is. Ready to drink is what I'm trying to call.
So it'd be like your Frappuccino in a glass, or your, or whatever not Frappuccino. It's the only one that doesn't have coffee in it.
Right,
but you know what I mean. But your mocha's in a glass or whatever.
Drank too much.
So you've mentioned Starbucks. So if I go to Safeway and I purchase the little prepackaged Starbucks mocha or whatever, is that what we're talking about? The pre-made drink that I just open up the bottle and drink it?
We're actually talking, that's the product, but this lawsuit is trying to get all of the stores that sell these products to post the warnings in the stores.
What about like someone driving through a Starbucks? Does it include that? I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that.
It doesn't appear that that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the ones that are already prepared, ready-made coffee drinks that are sold in big stores. And they've sued, I believe it's 90 different businesses to try to get them to post this warning in their stores.
You ready? Here's the civil penalties. The civil penalties come to $2,500. It can be as high as $2,500 per person exposed each day. And with the penalties reaching back 8 years, it could ring up astronomical bills.
For a legal product with no proven harm at this juncture, just
Right.
because Prop 65 says you didn't list it. Not that there's any proven harm.
Right, but you have to put the warning. It's a warning sticker, and I got into that a few a few weeks ago. I discussed the difference in warnings and issues, types of product liability. One is a warning issue. It's even though it's nothing wrong with it, you still, or there might be something minor wrong or a minor issue, you still have to put the warning labels on it, and that's what they're bringing this lawsuit.
Right,
about.
and the lawsuit's interesting because it is the private attorney general that's trying to seek redress of a public nuisance, in essence. So they're saying,
when you say private attorney general, this isn't an elected. This is a private individual that is bringing a lawsuit that the attorney general has opted not to bring, right?
maybe not opted not, but has not brought.
Good.
Okay, let's talk about this right to know law. The right to know law requires warnings before exposure to chemicals known to cause cancer or reproductive toxicity. And no person in the course of doing business shall knowingly and intentionally expose any individual to a chemical known to the state to cause cancer or reproductive toxicity without first giving clear and reasonable warning to such individual, except as provided by Section 25249.10, which we can talk about
Of
a
the
little bit
California Health and Safety Code.
That's exactly right. So between you and I, what's it come down to, as we always say? This is going to come down to dueling what? Dueling experts. That's exactly right. And
banjos. Ding, 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 ding.
Well, sometimes you wonder, though, some of those experts should be doing
That's right.
banjos.
That's right.
So anyway, that's the issue. So if it's me and I own a business, I'm throwing a sticker on no matter what. Two reasons why. This is what I'm saying. In Radio Law Talk, you learn the law and you learn the practical law. The practical law is just throw a sticker on it. And you know what? They're not going to read the sticker anyway.
But Denise, is it as simple as throwing a sticker on it? Didn't you say when we were at the break that they want every product listed in their warning?
No, not every product, just that they're selling products that may be toxic and or contain cancer-causing agents.
So if I walk,
you walk into a grocery store, you're going to have a big warning on the door that says, "Warning: we sell products in this store that may be toxic or cancer-causing."
okay,
Right?
So you do that,
Right.
But the warning doesn't have to list out, and those products are the bottled Starbucks coffee, and it doesn't have to list that.
Not Starbucks,
Okay.
but the bottled, ready-to-drink coffee is the one that contains this
But
carcinogenic.
does the warning have to say this is the product, or does the warning can it just be general and say we sell stuff that could be bad for you?
Seems like it has to be clear and reasonable warning before knowingly and intentionally exposing anybody. So I think it has to say more than just the warning. It has to actually say the types of products that are being sold.
We're going to talk more about the coffee that our co-host is drinking in just a minute. Oh, I love this song. Thank you, Cal.
I'm here for you. This is RadioLawTalk.com.
I come in last night about 10:30. That baby of mine wouldn't let me in.
You are listening to RadioLawTalk.com, so move it on over.
Rockin' on over. Move over, little dog.
So we're talking about the carcinogens in coffee, actually during the process of making it.
Alleged carcinogen.
Alleged. That's right. Sorry, Cal. No, there is some carcinogens, but this is just such a minor amount, and it's only during the process of making it. But it's just the argument is just very minor. Oh, but anyway, the 7-year lawsuit. The actual trial began September, which is this month. It's a bench trial, which means the judge hears it. A bench trial, it's not the jury's going to hear it. And it was brought by CERT, the Council for Education and Research on Toxins, filed this complaint for civil penalties and injunctive relief. Now, Denise brought forth the interesting point of what they're asking them to say. All they want is them to have a warning at these stores. And in fact, by the way, many of the coffee defendants have already posted warnings. So if the judge rules against the coffee companies, the mega chains and mom and pop operations are probably going to follow suits, but a lot of them are already slapped it on just in case. But go ahead. This is what they want them to say.
Right. The injunctive relief sought by the defendants said that the plaintiffs, which are 90 companies, including grocery stores and retailers in California, that the warning should state specifically chemicals known to the state of California to cause cancer and reproductive toxicity, including acrylamide, are present in coffee, baked goods, and other food beverages sold here. Now, the defendants are saying that why there should be an exemption for a byproduct that is required of cooking something.
Right.
So this carcinogenic, or alleged, it is a carcinogenic. It is as a result of the roasting process or result of baking the goods or whatever. It's a natural byproduct of cooking.
Yeah, they also want it a 10, and they want it the size of the warning 10 inches by 10 inches and placed in a location where food and beverages are purchased. So that's basically everywhere. Now, if you guys go to our Radio Law Talk Twitter page, go to our Twitter page. I tweeted a picture of me standing next to Radio Law Talk building where it's got the Prop 65 warnings on it. And right as we're sitting here right now, we are being bombarded by all kinds of carcinogens. Carcinogens. I can't say that word. Carcinogens.
But isn't it true that really the coffee industry is saying, look, it's just a little bit when it's being roasted, and,
Right.
and everyone, French fry people are going, it's just a little bit. Come on, anything can be cancer causing if you take enough of it.
I mean,
That's exactly what they're saying.
That's
So
right.
there's a professor that was brought in, Stanley Omey, and he said, and he was one of the experts here, this is the dueling experts, he said, based upon the animal studies, you would have to probably drink over 100 cups of coffee a day in order to get to those dangerously close levels.
That's right, because the Office of Environmental Health Hazard, they have already tested it, and they said there is no significant risk level of this product in coffee.
So what you're saying, Todd, is who's really got an issue, and it's very dangerous for him, is Chris Rodriguez.
That's right. That's right, because he basically freebases coffee, and
That's why I was wondering where that thing in his arm is. A little, what do you call him, a shunt?
Stint?
A stint?
But here's the interesting thing about that. So the expert says you'd have to drink 100 cups of coffee in order for this to affect you. Now, in order for something to avoid liability or to be exempt from the posting requirements, the law does include a no significant risk category. But in order to take advantage of the no significant risk category, it says the exposure will have no observable effect, assuming exposure at 1,000 times the level in question. And so the idea here is, if the expert's saying it's 100 times, you'd have to have 100 times, okay? But the law says you got to show that there would be no effect 1,000 times the average dose. Well, then you've got this interplay here, and you could still be liable, even though the practical individual would look at it and say, yeah, you drink 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day, nothing's going to happen to you.
And the burden to show that there's no significant risk is on the defendant.
Yes.
You see, so they are now guilty rather, until proven somehow innocent. Is that not correct?
It almost implies that they have to prove their innocence.
And
or the exemption, I suppose.
Do you still beat your wife? I mean, that kind of a question.
That's
Did someone just hit the pause button when he just said, Cal just pulled a Chris Rodriguez on us?
Sorry. Someone has to fill in for the man.
Well, the other thing about this is it's not like this is a substance. When people were going after folks for saccharin, and now you got the aspartame, and this is something that they affirmatively put into a product to make it sweet as opposed to sugar, and they're putting it in, and so there's this liability because this is a product that or an ingredient you chose to insert. Acrylamide UC Davis professor William Ristenpart stated that there's no commercially viable way to reduce the acrylamide in coffee. This is just a natural byproduct of the way it's made.
And to make it palatable, because you're not going to drink, a coffee that's not been cooked or roasted, or you're not going to drink or eat an unbaked good, right? It's in order for you to eat it and to be palatable and want to eat it, it's a byproduct of that process.
It's even byproduct of possibly, I guess, to some degree, of French fries. Now, here's the interesting thing. Go back a few years, and I remember growing up, what was the dangerous thing that you had to get away from that'll kill you? And that was butter.
Yes.
And eggs. And the best thing to do for that, I remember my father-in-law would just drink this stuff practically, but even though it was a food, he would eat it, was margarine, right? Wasn't it? There was all types of margarine and Nuco. They called it Nuco.
The low-fat substitute for butter.
Right. Yeah, and then what do they find out now? That's killing people.
It's worse than butter.
It's worse than butter. It's not killing people. I'm not going to say it's killing people, but it's worse than butter.
Allegedly worse than butter.
Allegedly. So I think what happened is now butter is on the rise. I remember eggs were bad for us. Don't ever eat an egg for a while there. Now eggs are good for us. And so Denise was bringing this up. How do you know what's good for you or not? You know what I do? Slap a warning on everything and just eat it and enjoy life for a little while and then just go from there. Now, here's what I want to know, Denise. What type of warning sticker should we slap on Todd Cunin?
You know what? There is not a warning sticker that is all-encompassing enough to completely and adequately warn anybody of the dangers of being associated with me. It's just assumption of the risk.
No, here's what I think. I've got the sticker lined up already. Warning: may cause cancer.
May cause cancer. Okay. Yes.
Warning: may cause suicidal tendencies.
Yes.
Warning: may cause hives.
But there was a joke that went around that said, look, pretty soon they'll say, warning, saliva will cause you to die if swallowed in small amounts over a long period of time. I mean, what won't?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. No,
and I'll tell you, one of the things that I see with this, and I'm sure that this is an argument that's raised by the people that are opposed to this lawsuit, and people that are afraid of being sued that are not being sued currently, that are afraid that this might come after them. There is an argument to be made, and we have seen abuses under the private attorney general statute by attorneys that are no longer attorneys in the state of California, where they undertake to seek damages up to $2,500 and bring what some would consider to be frivolous lawsuits, but they only bring them because of the sheer numbers of people that can be brought in. I'll give you an example. About 8-9 years ago, there were a group of recent graduates from law school that decided to sue fingernail shop owners for not opening a new bottle of finger polish for every new client, and they sued under the private attorney general statute. But what they would do is they never took the cases to court. They would file the lawsuit, then call the mom and pop because they knew they couldn't afford a lawyer, and offer to settle out of court, and made hundreds of thousands of dollars doing this, all under the guise of the private attorney general statute, and got punted. There were people that abused the ADA. By having professional plaintiffs
ADA
go
is the
in.
Americans with Disabilities Act.
Yes, and they would have these people that they would call professional plaintiffs go in, and they would look for a violation. Then you get a lawsuit, and they'd offer to settle. And I see here somebody arguing that given the sheer numbers of people involved that could be potential defendants in the amounts, this is a precursor to a shakedown by attorneys because it's kind of frivolous in terms of how harmful this is, and there will be people that will just pay you $10,000 to go away as opposed to possibly facing liability in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And the exposure, it could be $2,500 per person for the exposure. So all you have to do is
$25
track
per person per day.
Yes. But all you have to do is track how many people came in the store.
That's exactly right.
It's not going to be a hard damage issue.
Yeah.
And so when we come back from the break, we're going to talk a little more about this. We're going to talk about some cool warnings. We'll be right back.
This is RadioLawTalk.com with Todd, Fred, and Denise. Now back to the show.
I guess that I
Want to say some great shout out to our wonderful affiliate up in Red Bluff, KRAC, Crack Radio in Red Bluff. They are our home station. We love you, Crack Radio. We love the people of the Red Bluff, Redding area and the surrounding area. Thank you for being our home. That's where basically, even though we run through SRN satellite, which thank you SRN, our home is up at KRAC. So thank you, Crack.
And remember, your radio's on Crack.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Thanks, Cal, for that.
Yeah.
Radio Law Talk's on Crack.
That's exactly right.
I've heard that too.
No, that's when Rodriguez is here.
That's true.
So anyway, we thought this would be a fun segment to talk about. So we've got warnings that are the most interesting warnings you've ever heard or seen. And so we're going to go through a few of these and discuss them. And this is not a warning, but this is an ingredients. So you have to, there's certain things you have to put. You have to put ingredients on products. Ingredients for whipped butter contains cream, salt, and contains milk. Did you know that, Todd?
I did not.
And here's another one. A zipper says, warning. This zipper may cause harm to blank.
Yeah, right.
Zip with caution. And it's in Spanish, too. That's the most important one.
Well, that's the only fair warning I've heard in a long time.
That's exactly right. And you had one for Cal. I think you did, Tom.
Yes.
Oh, no. Here we go.
The one for Cal. Now this is this is off of a well-known product that
has a pill. What color is the pill?
It's blue. And it says, Viagra is not for newborns.
Really? Including newborn animals either. So here's the best one. It shows a microwave, an actual warning on the microwave, and it shows a picture of a dog with the red circle with an X through it. It says, not to be used for drying pets.
Oh, that is very helpful because, I mean, if I had a dime for every time I just wanted to
toss the cat in there and
dry the cats.
Yeah.
That's good to know. That's good to know. I see this one here. This isn't necessarily a warning. It's what you might be have a risk for a disease. And it says you may be at risk for throat cancer if you, and one of the options is, have a throat or a mouth. So if you have a throat or mouth, you may be at risk for throat or oral cancer.
So like if I had a finger, I could be at risk for finger cancer, just as an example.
You could, but if you somehow through a genetic defect were born without a throat or a mouth, they're saying that you could not get throat cancer if you didn't have a throat. That is very helpful.
Startling revelation.
Denise has got a good one too. Denise, you've got a couple things from that.
This is an actual sign posted where there is a...
It's a warning sign.
It's a warning sign and posted by a volcano, an active volcano. And it says, danger, climbing an erupting volcano is dangerous.
Ooh, I'm glad.
I'm glad because I would have not thought that.
Neither would have I. Here's the best one too. You know those little curlers what do you call the straighteners? You know what a straightener is for your hair? I know, Todd, you use one.
Yes.
Denise, but those straighteners, it says, and it shows a picture of a straightener with the heat coming out of it and an eye. And it says, eye contact warning for straightening iron in Canada, not for household use. Caution, this product can burn your eyes.
Wow. Oh. Here's a warning. It's sometimes found in a church. Warning, articles of value should not be left on seats whilst receiving Holy Communion.
I want to go to that church, man.
Well, I mean, if you think about that, it makes sense. People who need help in their lives go. So if somebody is having a problem with, say, with kleptomania and hasn't kicked the habit, their first step is to go to church, and now it's just, tempting. So I would suggest that maybe you could be liable for making somebody's addiction even worse if you leave it's always the victim's fault.
Yeah, there's warnings on chainsaws. Says do not grab the chainsaw by the wrong end.
Oh, while running?
Yeah, and
Yes.
this one is funny. It says think. Do not use your genitals to stop the chainsaw blade.
Good advice.
Is that legal to say that word on radio?
Well, now you're just showing off.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a good one with Q-tips. Allergy advice. Contains peanuts, not suitable for nut and sesame seed allergy sufferers due to the methods used in the manufacture of this product. Don't use Q-tips because guess what? You stick it in your ear, you're going to have a nut allergy.
So does that mean Q-tips are edible?
Some people might be eating them.
Well, I had a Q-tip and jam sandwich.
That's right. You know the earwax on it?
Here's one from a thermometer. Okay, once used rectally, the thermometer should not be used orally.
That is real. That
is a real warning.
And now warning signs have to have warnings on them. Caution, this sign has sharp edges.
Oh my gosh, a warning sign for a warning sign. Yes. Oh my gosh, this is great. Here is a blow dryer by Vidal Sassoon. It says, instructions for use. Do not use while sleeping.
You know, if I had a dime for every time I woke up in the middle of the night, oh my gosh, why can't I'm doing my hair. Holy Toledo.
Right? I mean, come on, it happens all the time.
Yes. So you know those Duraflame logs?
Yes, Duraflame logs.
Which I actually...
Hey, by the way, Seth, would you turn the air conditioner on? It is like so hot in here. It's on?
So
oh my gosh, we're open.
I love those Duraflame logs. You get like 4 hours of fire as a result of them and stuff. But here's a warning. Warning on a Duraflame log. Warning, risk of fire. Okay. I mean, you can't even say do not use for unintended use. If you use it for its intended use, you will get a fire. That's amazing.
Put that on the matches too, probably.
Yeah.
Yes.
What about Ben Gay? Have you seen the one on Ben Gay?
Oh, Fred.
It says, caution, old people, do not get this messed up with your denture cream. You will definitely regret it. It says something to that effect. That's what it says.
You're the one that just pointed out the warning labels on the dry cleaning.
Yes.
Yeah, the dry cleaning hangers. It says warning or caution, do not swallow. On the hanger.
What?
On the dry cleaning hanger.
More good advice. This is advice to live by.
Oh, here's a good one. Here's a Prop 65 warning, because we're talking about Prop 65 California. And this is what it says. Handling the coated electrical wires of this product exposes you to lead, a chemical known to the state of California to cause cancer, birth defects, and other reproductive harm. Wash hands after use or eating.
That's good stuff. You know the easy cheese, like the squirtable cheese stuff. Okay, so here's one, and these come in like a pressurized bottle, and it's like the whipped cream where you push the top and stuff, and there's a cap on it. Okay, so it says warning for best results, remove cap.
Well, okay. A true cook would say for best results, don't use this product. Get real cheese.
Oh, come on! My son lived on that stuff, the bacon one. All right, here's one for one of those. Those kind of like a jet thruster, a jet nozzle of some sort. It says, and this is a legit warning, severe internal injuries can occur if water is forced into body cavities as a result of being near jet thrusted nozzle.
Yes.
Oh, no.
So that's like for your hot tub or something?
No, I guess this is like one of those nozzles, apparently like spray, those spray nozzles.
Oh, a power spray.
Yeah, power spray nozzle. Yeah.
A dishwasher or a clothing washer, washing machine. Warning, high spin speeds. Do not put any person in this washer.
See, these are all rules to live by that we should all have.
I'm
posted.
I'm so glad we have them.
And we have a warning label at the zoo. It says, please be safe. Do not stand, sit, climb, or lean on zoo fences. If you fall, animals could eat you, and that might make them sick. Thank you.
That's awesome. Here's one. Remember the famous McDonald's coffee spill crotch area?
Yes.
This is actually, I don't know. I'm looking at it. It looks like it's on some certain company's coffee cup. It says, caution hot. Avoid pouring onto crotch area. And it's in Spanish, too. Isn't that amazing?
I'm glad that we're warning people bilingually of these things.
Yeah, well, it's bilingual. It has to be bilingual.
Yeah,
so.
it's important.
Well, this is one that we should probably post here at the Radio Law Talk studio.
Oh, no.
Warning. I will more than likely offend you at some point.
I like that.
Nice. Just put it on Rodriguez's chair.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a good one.
I like the coat hanger. This is legit, a coat hanger. Caution, do not swallow.
Yep.
They really have that on there.
They do. It's it seems like I've heard that one before.
Yeah, it's a reprise.
Okay.
It's a reprise of a good one. Yeah.
All right, guys, we've got to thank Tanner Combs. He's from Brigham Young University, J. Reuben Clark's Law School, and he did our research for this for our 3-hour segment, and he did a really good job. A lot of work he put into this.
Yeah,
We're
that's the end of hour 2. We're going to be back with hour 3, and we're going to talk a little bit about whether or not you can kick people out hanging out in your bed and breakfast or your B&B. We'll be right back. This is Radio Law Talk. Call us.
Tweet us at Radio Law Talk.
You have been listening to RadioLawTalk.com, a copyrighted presentation of Radio Law Talk Incorporated. The following is a live copyrighted presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for RadioLawTalk.com with your host, Frederick Penny, attorney at law. And now, RadioLawTalk.com.
Welcome to RadioLawTalk.com. I'm Frederick Penny, your host in this beautiful fall morning. Welcome to some of our affiliates that are just joining in. You're listening to our 3rd hour, and it will be replayed the 1st and 2nd hour after this hour. They have to fit us in on different times, but having a wonderful time here with my hosts, Todd Cunin and Denise Dirks, and got Cal behind the glass, commenting all the time. Who knows what Cal's
Sorry,
gonna
way
comment
too
on.
much. I'll stop.
No, that's okay. We don't mind. We don't mind him commenting. He's like our left-hand person. So we've had a lot of fun.
As opposed to the right-hand person?
No, he's not my
Okay.
right hand. We're not a right-hand guy. He's not a right-hand guy. He's the left-hand guy.
I feel so flattered.
Yeah. So he's a few down. That's why I said left-hand guy. Well, don't forget, he drives up in Shasta County area on the marijuana drive-through places. But I'm
Do
sitting
they
here.
drive on the right side of the road up in Shasta?
I'm not quite sure they even know how to drive up there, do they?
We take our half out of the middle.
Okay, that's...
I'm just signing our Radio Law Talk mug hosted by Frederick Penny. What a beautiful mug for our awesome research person, that every single time that we come and do this show, we have law clerks or law students from different law schools do the research for us. And we have an excellent student that did a great research for us.
Yeah, Tanner Combs from Brigham Young University, J. Reuben Clark Law School. Thank you so much, Tanner. We're signing a mug for you. You're going to have an autographed mug as well as your $100 scholarship.
Yeah, and don't forget, we're going to talk about some general law principles here today. If you have any legal issues, go see an attorney. We're just having a good time here. We've had a lot of fun in the prior past few hours. We're sitting here relaxed. The funny thing we didn't talk about before was, we talked about before, is when we roll in, we kind of roll in 45 minutes, half hour before to prepare. I think everybody rolled in about 10:10, and here's Cal sitting all by himself, panicky on his face, going, okay, what am I going to say? Welcome to Radio Law Talk. Let's talk about something else. But we roll in all at the same time. We threw our headsets on, and we have this great research. We knew exactly what we're talking about, and we've had some fun. And thanks, Seth Madden, for being here and being our call screener. But there's a couple of things we want to follow up on, some things that have popped up within the past few days, and some updates. And Todd, we talked early on about this kind of concussion issue. Not early on, but what was it? The last week or week before, we were talking about concussions.
Concussions with regard to Aaron Hernandez,
Aaron Hernandez,
and how the family now is talking about, maybe they've even already filed a lawsuit against the New England Patriots and the NFL because Aaron Hernandez had, when they did the autopsy on him, he had advanced stages. This is a guy who was in his mid-20s at the time of his death.
Right.
And he had advanced stages of CTE that the bruising of the brain that's a result of the concussions that leads to homicidal, suicidal, aggressive behavior and whatnot.
That's right.
And so that family wants to sue.
So to update that is the issue of the Notre Dame player who was actually injured or had a concussion. They had an MRI, and they didn't tell him about it, and he went back and played. Or they didn't. What did they tell? What?
Here's what happened. Now, this is
was it injury to his back, or was I don't know.
This is Notre Dame. I mean, this is just falling under the general heading of football is a dangerous sport.
I guess it wasn't concussion. It was an injury to his back. Is that right?
So what happened was this Douglas Coles Randolph was a player for the University of Notre Dame. He started playing in 2014, and about 2 years ago, he was a defensive lineman. And he played defensive lineman, linebacker, and during practice, during one of the drills, he got popped, and his extremities went numb for a little bit. So he takes a little time out, and the trainer puts him off to the side, and after about 2 minutes of rest, they put him back in. Now, I'm not going to fault him for that because in football, the injuries that happen where you get hit, you get a stinger and things go, that happens all the time. So they put him back into this practice drill. But where we got an issue is after that, he started complaining of more and more symptoms. Continued pain in his extremities. They'd go numb. He's having trouble sleeping. They put him on a steroid. So the long and short of it is he gets an MRI in the middle of September.
But he gets an MRI by the doctor.
By the team.
By the team's doctor.
So the team gives him an MRI, and after the MRI, he is told, you can go back to playing. They give him this steroid. It's fine. It turns out that the MRI and those that read it, the medical professionals, it showed a narrowing of the spinal column it's called spinal stenosis. Mm-hmm. And it is a serious problem. It's a congenital defect, it can be, but it's a serious problem. And he was told that he could go back and play. He played the rest of the season and continued to suffer even more symptoms. It got so bad that in December, while standing on the sidelines, the act of looking down at his feet caused his limbs to go numb. All right? And now, just on a personal note here, I have had back injuries. I've had 2 surgeries on my lower back, and I've had back injuries to the upper back. It is a pain that you don't want to go through.
Please don't show us your scars.
It is. I'm not gonna. But it is so difficult. And when you have something out like a pinched nerve or something is affecting your spine, it affects everything. And you're just miserable. And this guy played through it that season, played in the bowl game, and then in January gets another MRI by an independent. It's not by the team doctors. And that's when the independent radiologist who's looking at the MRI says, you got spinal stenosis here, and you've had it for a while.
Right, and this could result in permanent nerve damage to his neck.
That's right.
And so I guess the question becomes, what's the duty of care that Notre Dame owed to this football player?
That's right. So he filed a lawsuit against Notre Dame, and the lawsuit he filed against the Notre Dame, the ABC Hospital, ABC Health Services, even filed against the coach that has subsequently been dismissed against the coach. But he has 3 causes of action, which are he filed for negligence, he filed for negligent misrepresentation, and he filed for fraudulent concealment.
Exactly.
And so that's what his cause of action is. Notre Dame is doing the typical, we feel we will be completely exonerated. It's what they have to say. But I don't know. You get a guy and your team doctors see spinal stenosis in September, they don't tell him about it. How do they get around, for example, informed consent? If somebody consents to go back out on the football field, but you didn't inform them, how can they make a claim that the player engaged or gave their informed consent to continue playing if you didn't tell them a condition that they had?
Or that they assumed the risk of something they didn't know? I think that's a really good question. I'd like to say that this research on this particular topic was done by Laura Pratt from University of San Diego School of Law. She was our research assistant last week, and we're shouting out to her again. We didn't get fully finished with this discussion on this really important topic. So we were going to hit it today.
Yeah, and was there some updates on that too? Or?
Well, just that the court let the coach. The coach is out.
Yeah, they found no cause of
dismissed
action
as the
against the coach.
Coach did not know about the MRI, did not know the results of the MRI, did not send him back out on the field to play knowing those results. So obviously the doctor and the Notre Dame itself is still on the hook.
And, when you look at this, so the question, I guess, when you go all the way back to it, the question's going to be, when did the liability start? And, was the trainer liable for not holding him out of practice any longer? I think that might be a tough sell. But when they got that MRI and then put him back out on the field, that's when it really comes up. And we're probably going to have to get to this after our break or continue here. We're coming up on a break here on Radio Law Talk. Where can they reach us, Denise?
We'd really love to hear from you. So tweet us at Radio Law Talk or call us at 855-529-7234.
See you in a bit.
Radio Law Talk. I like that show.
Try it. You'll like it. RadioLawTalk.com.
We're back. We were talking a little bit about the Notre Dame injury to the football player that didn't get disclosed in the lawsuit. Another interesting thing that's going on right now is Jim Carrey is claiming extortion in his ex-girlfriend's wrongful death suit. His ex-girlfriend committed suicide in 2015, and he has cross-complained against them in this wrongful death lawsuit because they're trying to claim that, to some degree, that Carey had illegally obtained highly addictive, deadly drugs under a different pseudonym, which he used, which he helped her get to some degree, in which caused her to take her life. And apparently Carey is saying that they're trying to extort money out of him, and that's the reason they're doing it. He's not just suing, cross-complaining against them, but cross-complaining against the law firm and the lawyers.
Yes.
And go ahead.
And his girlfriend was Cathriona White, and it's her mother and her husband that are suing.
Ex-husband.
No.
Is it her husband?
It's her husband. She was married at the time and did not get divorced from this person.
So, so they call it an estranged husband.
Estranged mother and estranged husband is actually what the allegations are. Jim Carrey says that they did not have good relationships with his ex-girlfriend. And in fact, he said
there's a chance.
Yeah.
You're telling me there's a chance.
That's exactly right.
So Jim Carrey has cross-complained against the law firm and the mother and estranged father or estranged husband for extortion. He said that he had tried to settle the matter privately. In fact, settled the matter and paid money to settle the matter 3 years ago. And that now they're coming back and they're alleging some other things against him, and he has to stand up for himself and now defend himself.
Well, this is a cautionary tale for attorneys in general. And if you get on to the State Bar, the ethics website and stuff, this is an area where attorneys really need to be careful, and that is how you frame a demand for settlement.
Right.
Because it's very easy to say the wrong thing and get yourself thrown into an extortion-oriented scenario, or get thrown into the ethical violation where you're holding criminal charges over somebody's head in an attempt to try to negotiate a civil settlement. And so if they're filing against a law firm here, this just tells me at some point in time there was a law firm that sent a letter that said, if, there's the first buzzword, you pay X, Y, and this amount of money to us, we will not do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And when you combine those two, that is extortion. That's interesting, just from a philosophical standpoint. It's not against the law to ask for money. It is not against the law to ask for money. And it's not against the law to go to the news agencies and say somebody has done something, assuming it's true. Okay? But extortion says it is against the law when you combine those two.
Right. In this particular case, it was not the ex-husband or the estranged husband or the mother. It was actually his ex-girlfriend, Katharina White, who's told Carrie, with the participation and assistance of Marchino, her attorney, that unless Carrie paid her millions of dollars, she would go to the press and alleged that he had infected her with STDs, sexually transmitted diseases. And he paid that. He actually paid that. And so then Marchino, the lawyer, is now representing White's mother and White's estranged husband, making much the same allegations that he not only did he obtain the dangerous drugs for White that she used to kill herself with, but he had also given her STDs, which caused her to become depressed.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to get into that later. We're not going to go into details about that, but that is just an update that we want to talk about. That's just, as things pop up, we want to discuss them briefly, and that might be a future segment that we discuss. But let's get to this squatter rights and Airbnbs and an interesting thing about this religious communities, whether or not they can limit the lives in the neighborhood or what type of people come through the neighborhood. And that's discussions about squatters' rights and trespassing on adverse possession laws. But here's the interesting thing. Airbnbs. So an Airbnb is something where you, for a short period of time, could come in and kind of rent a room. And usually there's a family that lives there and they cook the food for you, and it's for only a certain time period. There are laws in different states. I know Michigan has a certain law. I believe it's Michigan that says you cannot rent out for less than 30 days. Or there's certain rules and regulations you got to follow. But then it comes down to whether or not there's squatter rights. And squatter rights are rights of people who come on the land and it's kind of an old 1700s kind of rule that if you stay there kind of long enough, you can just take possession of it.
Right. It's actually adverse possession laws. That's what the general law is formed, and it means that if a person comes on and they are adverse to the owner's title, that means they're on there and they're not really supposed to be on the property, and they stay for a certain period of time, then they can actually claim title
exactly
to that
right.
property.
Well, one interesting thing is San Francisco is you got to check your jurisdiction. San Francisco is very liberal about this. They're very squatter friendly. San Francisco has a tenant union that assists squatters in staying on landlords' properties for longer periods of time than they're allowed to, or supposedly allowed to. So you've got to be very careful. There's many jurisdictions that provide legal protection for squatters. Renters who have stayed beyond terms of their rental agreement, the formal eviction process. You got to be careful of evicting them and how you evict them. Don't just shut the electricity off, or just don't change the locks. You got to be very careful of that. So these are issues we're going to discuss, and some people even send police in. You got to be careful.
Yeah, and what is coming up in the context also is the Airbnb. In that context, an Airbnb, potential for squatters' rights to arise out of that relationship as well.
That's exactly right. And for example, in California, it's a little more liberal, and that is when it comes to a home. But if it's more of a commercial building, the rights are a lot less for the person that is renting the place. So it's difficult if you're a renter. If you own a home and are renting out to someone, the laws are pro-renter. But we're going to talk more about this when we come back. Radio Law Talk, call us at 855-LAW-RADIO or tweet us at Radio Law Talk.
Listening to RadioLawTalk.com. And now back to your host, Frederick Penny.
We're back talking about Airbnbs and the do's and don'ts of short-term rentals. And earlier in the segment before, we were talking about the short-term rules and laws where one city actually or state prohibits terms of rentals of less than 30 days. I wasn't quite sure. I thought it might have been Michigan. It's actually New York City prohibits short-term rentals of less than 30 days. So, Denise, there's a few tips that people have to understand, some legal and financial consequences of short-term renting, that these tips might help them out.
Right. I mean, the first thing, if you're thinking about doing an Airbnb or doing any kind of a short-term rental situation, you need to check your local laws. I mean, in your city or city ordinances. as well as the state laws, to ensure that you can rent out your rental on Airbnb on a very short-term, less than 30-day situation. So the local laws, as well as if you are a tenant, your agreement with the landlord has to be looked at. Can you actually do it without violating your rental agreement? If you own your own home, condo, or duplex, you may have the HOA limits, and HOA is kind of the housing authority or the homeowners association that comes with your land ownership or your home ownership. Local laws may limit the number of days, or it even could require permits to be obtained.
Like San Francisco.
Exactly, like San Francisco does. And in fact, San Francisco requires them to register with the city. So they have to actually do a registration. And then there's other concerns that you think about that don't apparently come to mind right off the bat. I mean, what happens if the renter dies while in your home? There may be liability. Even under Airbnb, if an Airbnb person comes in and then dies in your home, you could have some liability there. Plus, it's going to, forever taint your home ownership too. Generally, renters are required to ensure that the property is safe. So if there's any dangerous condition on the property that you know or maybe should know that exists, you could also have liability if a person is injured in your home.
So Earl, watch out for the snake pit in the back.
Yeah.
And the tiger pit that we've got back there. Okay, good to know.
There is insurance that's for Airbnb, so there is a limited insurance that you can get to do that, but you should probably supplement it. It makes sense to do a supplemental. And then there's issues for selling your home if someone is renting it too. Like you may be limited on if you can actually sell it if you have a long-term lease, or you'd have to be able to show that you have control over it and that person has not adversely possessed it for a period of time, that you no longer have clear title.
Or access to it. You might not even be able to show it because they're in there and they have certain rights to their privacy that
That's a good point.
Can't come in. Yeah.
Okay, so I got a question here. When we talk about Airbnb, am I safe in assuming that the B&B of Airbnb stands for bed and breakfast?
Yes.
Okay. So, the typical bed and breakfast, I remember I went to one once with somebody, and what I remember most about that is that I ordered the oatmeal for breakfast. But so we went there, and it was a nice place, and there were other couples that were there, and you had your room, you had breakfast together, then you went on your way.
No privacy.
Yes. Is this limited to situations like that, or are there Airbnb properties where it's not a bed and breakfast where they give you that stuff? It is, look, we're not using this property. You just come in and stay there for a week.
Yeah, Airbnb does not mean that you're going to have a bed and breakfast kind of a situation where you have somebody that's waiting on you and feeding you and all that. It's just a home that the people are allowing you to come in and utilize for a short period of time. My daughter did an Airbnb in Iceland, for example, and it was a 2-bedroom little apartment, and it was really good and worked out perfect, and it was inexpensive, $40 a night.
Yeah, and Airbnb is a general term we're using because I can't remember the acronym. There's another one where you can go, like if you go to Hawaii, you can rent someone's house out for 2 weeks, and there's a website you can go to, and if Seth was listening, he'd probably know what that was called. But there's a certain type of I don't know. You can just rent your house for 2 weeks, and they'll let you come in their house and
so it's kind of like the advantage everybody talks about a timeshare is you got this place where you can go, but you got to pay. I mean, you're owning it, and you got to pay the taxes, and with other people that you use. So if you go to a place where you're just renting for 2 weeks, it's the advantage of going to some place, but you're renting somebody else's thing, and you don't have to worry about the ownership hassles when you leave.
Right.
Okay.
So that's interesting stuff. And one way we try to figure out whether or not people out there listening are enjoying our show and want to learn about this stuff is I always look to Cal to see if he's sleeping, or it looks like he's playing solitaire right now. So I think we better move on from this topic.
I'm looking at Seth clean up a spill in the kitchen. Something apparently untoward has happened in the Radio Law Talk studio kitchen.
It wasn't me.
And I'm worried that it'll get into our electronic gear, so I have an interest in what he's doing here.
Is he out there cleaning it still, or what?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's important.
So I will tell you this about, I mean, I didn't attribute it to Airbnb, but short-term rentals, because I know there's some people out there going, why would you ever want to rent your home on a short-term basis, and what's the benefit? I mean, you do get a little bit of cash for it, but consider this example. I lived in Northeast Tennessee for about a year, and I lived about 10 miles from the Bristol Motor Speedway, where they used to have 2 NASCAR races a year. They had the March race and then the night race in August, and the night race was the hardest ticket to get in motorsports for a long time. And the locals in that area would go and leave the area. And we're talking about 160,000 people come into the area for the race. The population of the county doubles in size. And finding a place to rent comes at a premium. And I know people that would rent their home out for the week of the night race. They'd go stay with relatives in Nashville or somewhere else and just get out, and then come back, and the amount of money they made in rent for that 1 week paid their mortgage for the year.
So another
crazy.
You can rent my house. Don't mind Jethro and I in the back in the trailer. We're just going to hang out back there with the dogs.
You can rent the house. Just don't try to pick the lock on the cellar. And if you hear anything coming from that cellar, just none you. Mind your own business. Move on. It's nothing. It's haunted a little, but...
Now, another common application of that is people who live next to sports stadiums. For example, go to a 49ers game. The people you can park in people's yards on what used to be their grass. You know, they charge a little money. Is there liability when they do that? Is that the kind of...
absolutely.
Absolutely. And the question is whether or not your insurance covers you. So you better double check your insurance.
It's a bailment.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. It creates a bailment when you when somebody takes over your car, and you have a duty to make sure that that car is kept in reasonable condition.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Well, anyone comes on your property, you can be held liable, but you have to look at the exceptions of your insurance liability policy for your homeowners. I assume there would be a home there and not just a vacant land. Vacant land, you have to have insurance. You should. You don't have to. You should have insurance also. But sometimes they exclude that. You better double check. That's why you hire an attorney.
Well, you know what I find interesting? I find that when there's a limitation on who you can sell your home to, you know, that there are communities that have limitations like that.
Yeah. Well, this is Radio Law Talk's got so many exciting things happen. It looks like Seth there through the window has got toilet paper in his hand, and he's cleaning things up, and Cal's looking over there playing solitaire.
No solitaire. No. I'm telling you, this is a major plumbing problem here. It's all in the car.
Is it the plumbing, or was it just the water bottle?
It's the water bottle, but it escaped somehow and got all over the place. And now I think the water bottle people better be expecting some notice of liability.
Well, I think between the three of us, we might be able to file a lawsuit. How did it injure us? What do you think, Cal or Todd? Or
well, it's in the carpet, but otherwise, apparently, he's done a good job of getting it cleaned up.
Well, I remember when he came in, there was that problem, and I saw it starting to leak, but we were starting, and I think what Seth did is he told me, he goes, "Oh, I just turned the water bottle upside down." Not very smart, you know. I think he just flipped it upside down and it kept leaking again. So it's like, I'm going to turn it upside down here. I think that'll take care of the water leak.
What are you doing with that water bottle there, Leroy? Well, I'm going to go ahead and take this.
Going to rent it out.
We're going to rent it. It's called an Airbnb. That's what it is. And I ain't had this much fun since the pigs ate Grandma.
We're going to be the pigs ate Grandma. You know we're getting late in the show. So we're going to talk next about religious communities who limit the lives in a neighborhood. In other words, they limit who can and cannot come into the neighborhood. And this kind of ties into the rights and laws of Airbnbs and renting, but there's an interesting...
but this actually applies to ownership as well.
Right. This is an interesting case out of Michigan called the Bayview. It's called Bayview, where they started way back, I believe, in the 1800s. It kind of started, but really 1942, when it was kind of created about a certain type of people could live in this community, and you have to have certain religious affiliations. Actually, not necessarily, it started out with, quote, good moral character. character and over the age of 21 in order to move into this community, which means Rodriguez was out.
That explains why nobody lives there anymore.
That's exactly right. Well, I guess the good moral character, they've changed the definition. It just says you have a pulse.
Good enough. Good enough.
There also was a little bit of a racial undertone to this case also.
There was a lot of issues here. And we're going to talk about that. It was very interesting, and we're going to get into what they did right and wrong and how it applies today and whether or not it's going to be upheld. We'll be right back with Radio Law Talk. I'm Frederick Penny.
All around the world. This is RadioLawTalk.com.
I can hear her heartbeat for 1,000 miles.
Thanks for turning on RadioLawTalk.com. Now back for the final segment. Here's Fred, Denise, and Todd.
Can a religious community limit who lives in a neighborhood? In 1875, Bayview Association was founded in Michigan under the state's Summer Resort and Assembly Association Act, which allows for groups to be occupied for religious purposes. So Bayview started this place. It's kind of a religious sanctuary. And it's kind of we got a First and 14th Amendment issue here. So let's go over a little bit about it. Originally, it started with bylaws that the applicant had to be of good moral character and 21 years of age. And again, we talked about how Chris Rodriguez, the Harvard boy, probably couldn't go in. But over time, Bayview has aligned itself with different Christian religions. And in 1942, they created a new bylaw saying that no one should be allowed in this community unless they were a white race and Christian. And then by 1959, they switched it to the race requirement where it was eliminated, but the religious test remained. By 1986, Bayview instituted a bylaw requirement that would be a member of this community now has to provide a minister's letter establishing, quote, active participation in a Christian church. So what's that excluded unchurched Christians. What a church Christian and an unchurched Christian is, I don't know, but it sounds like someone who doesn't go to a church but still is a Christian is not allowed. Okay, and that's in 1986. From cottage ownership, and so in the first time in 11 years of existence, they've done that. But between 2007 and the present, they tried to align themselves with the United Methodist Church. Why? Which is kind of the smart way to do it, is then there's more First Amendment rights and issues if they're aligned with the United Methodist Church or a church.
A church can exclude certain people. That's really what it comes down to.
That's exactly right. So this lawsuit has come forth to determine whether or not these are unlawful policies and practices of Bayview based on First and 14th Amendment issues, obviously the 14th Amendment, and they're trying to align themselves with this church, the United Methodist Church. So interesting.
And the United Methodist Church doesn't want to be so aligned with them either.
Yeah, that's interesting too. I didn't know that issue. So the question is, yes or no? Should they be able to do this? And is there any other communities out there that are already doing this similar to that? I know there are different religious institutions that have universities that there are certain rules and moral codes you have to follow through. I mean, they're all over the place. I mean,
right, and homeowners associations have different types of rules too, and for the most part, they probably are upheld. So really, the question here is restricting home sales to certain people based upon their religious belief allowed under the U.S. Constitution and the Free and Fair Housing Act?
Right. So the question's yes. You would say yes because free practice of a religion. Is that correct? That would be the argument.
Exactly.
What are the arguments for and against? So what would be the arguments against, Todd?
Well, the question here is whether or not Bayview is qualified as a governmental institution. That would be one. Now remember, when we talk about the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution only applies to the government restricting something relating to the Bill of Rights. A big hot topic is freedom of speech right now. A private employer can say, you can't say this, you can't say that. The government cannot, because the Constitution protects against governmental encroachment. So the question here is Bayview a governmental entity? And I think that people could make the argument that the community has gotten so, has developed so strong. I would want to know if they have a community charter, if they have a city charter, do they have elected politicians as part of Bayview, or is this just nothing more than basically an HOA? But the more it looks like a governmental entity, the less ability they would have or justification they would have to be discriminating based upon religion, because they're government.
Yeah, don't forget, you've got the Fair Housing Act of 1968 that prohibits discrimination in housing based on race, color, sex, national origin, or religion. And it applies to federal, state, and local agency as well as corporations, partnerships, and associations.
Right, and Bayview would be considered to be privately owned, first and foremost, and probably a corporation.
That's what the lawsuit's alleging, but Bayview's saying, no, we're aligned ourselves with the United Methodist Church. I'm assuming that's what their argument would be, and we are more like a pseudo-religion. No different than the Boy Scouts have had some issues, and the Girl Scouts about issues of whether or not this private type of an institution is more religious or not religious, you know?
This is a debate. It's only going to get more intense as time goes on, but where is the line? I mean, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, they looked at this and they saw a very clear distinction between what was religious and what was not, and they could do things. And when the framers of the Constitution instituted it, they thought it was clear, so they said, there will be no encroachment on religion, and religion will be separate here versus there. Well, now we've come to the point 200 plus years after the creation of the Constitution, where it's difficult to see where that line is drawn. It's difficult to see how people might be able to encroach on an area based upon what they perceive to be their religious belief. We're not going to see this just in property. I think we're going to see this more as far as institutions of higher learning are concerned, whether or not it's a parochial school versus, is it a religious school? Is it a secular school? This is going to be a topic that is not going to go away. And it's very difficult to find. It's like trying to nail Jell-O to a wall to find out where the line is.
Jell-O to a wall. That's a first for me. Anyway, I'm not even thinking about how to do that. But look at the pictures. I looked up Bayview Association, and it actually says, look, here's the picture. And it says United Methodist Church, established 1875 on the bottom. It says a National Historic Landmark. And look at the houses there. They're just gorgeous. They're just big mansions. And they're like they've got what do you call that? That Victorian style. Mm-hmm. And it's gorgeous, gorgeous homes. I mean, it looks like a place that anyone would want to live. Look, here's a house on the beach. I mean, it looks like, I just hit. But it's a beautiful part of the community that somehow is what some people say is discriminating against people based on their religion and at one time at least their race, and they changed that, which was smart in 1959. But should they be able to do that or not?
I mean, let's take this back a step. Let's say hypothetically you have a church. All right. And the church decides to go out and buy 3 acres or 5 acres of land somewhere because they have a bunch of people in their church that are less fortunate, they're indigent, and they decide to go build these tiny houses that you can build for $5,000-7,000 and they're able to build 20 houses on this 5-acre parcel. Well, that might seem different, but just make this however it works for you. So they build 20 churches on this 5-acre parcel, and they have 20 families that are less fortunate, and they decide to go ahead and rent these at very low cost to those individuals, maybe in exchange for keeping the church clean and doing that, okay? And the church, whatever their denomination, they're allowed to do that. Should, in a situation like that, if there's a vacancy at the house, say one of the families decides to move, should the church be required to open up the rental or the providing of that house in that to somebody who's not a member of the church, or should the church be allowed to say, well, we did this for the indigent people of our church? Because what seems to be here with Bayview is that model only on an expanded scale because of the types of the homes. It gets difficult
Right. Here's the interesting thing about Bayview that says no, they shouldn't be able to do it. There's arguments both sides. Bayview is given governmental authority to amend and enforce laws or regulations enacted by the community and is delegated the power to deputize a marshal.
Right, and that's by special authority under the Michigan law. So it's a Michigan law that allowed for that formation.
That's exactly right. And it also says Bayview bylaws take full advantage of delegation of public functions to summer results by the act. They rely on government authority, and power places Bayview within a requirement to abide by federal anti-discrimination laws is one of the big arguments. So they're actually using some of the government, you know...
They have functions like a government.
Right.
They're actually delegated government functions.
That's exactly
Thus,
right.
they have to abide by the federal anti-discrimination
Well, let's do a
laws.
shout-out, Denise.
All right, let's shout out to our law student research, Tanner Combs. He did the research for our program today. He's from Brigham Young University, J. Reuben Clark Law School, and he did a great job. We really appreciate all of his hard work.
Yeah,
Very
that's gonna end our 3 hours of Radio Law Talk. Well, join us next week when we talk more.
Hey, thanks to K-High, too, for being one of our radio stations.
See you next week.
You have been listening to RadioLawTalk.com, a copyrighted presentation of Radio Law Talk Incorporated.